CP is brought about by brain damage. So the brain damage can happen while the child is in the womb or at birth. So for me, my child was affected at birth because of a delayed delivery. So for me, it was different because the child was healthy throughout the pregnancy. There was no problem at all. And so she stayed in the birth canal for too long and lacked oxygen. So because of that, she suffered the brain damage. She was called Nuri Okeyo, and Nuri means processed by fire.
Wow, that's a game changer.
It is, and I'm looking at that journey. I'm saying it was worth it. The drive, the long drive, because God supplies resource when it is needed, and that's a stranger that you didn't know.
And God chooses which way to speak to us.
Exactly.
That's the way He used a donkey.
Yes.
So for you, not a donkey. Well, your channel of getting this was from a total stranger.
Exactly.
And ideally, any doctor who wants to, you'd want to make some money. And I think that's just beautiful.
It is.
That's beautiful.
I like that thing of shifting perspective. Not looking at it as a difficult task. It is, but not just focusing on how difficult it is, but I'm chosen for it.
Yes.
I think that even I would think it allowed new access of grace. That I'm chosen for it.
Right.
And so you're able to receive every resource that goes with doing what you're selected for. Wow.
Maybe if I can add something to what you're saying, a change of perspective helps you be able to respond correctly to God. Just that ability to change and say, God, inside of this situation, I would want to respond correctly. I do not want to murmur or complain or ask questions. And it changes, it enlarges your heart. And like you're saying, opens a door for grace to handle the situation.
Yes.
Maybe if I can share this scripture, John chapter 9, where Jesus was with the disciples and they met this guy who had been blind from birth. And you remember they said, who sinned? Is it the parents? Is it the person? Is it what happened to cause this person to be blind? And God said, and Jesus said, nobody sinned. It's not the parents, it's not that child. It is for my glory that I did this. So that's one of the scriptures that really ministered to us, that someone shared with us. And that scripture helped us to journey with Nuri, knowing that it's nobody's fault. It's not the doctor's fault. Yes, there was an error, they delayed, they did all those things, and it is true. But we forgave them. I remember telling the doctor, I've not told you, the doctor who finally delivered my child was a young doctor. And the senior doctor was not present. He had taken a walk. So he came back after 4 hours. So the complication would have been handled by a senior doctor very well without an issue. So this young doctor was, I think, a year old in obstetrics. So she had never experienced anything like this. So she was so distraught. So one day we found her at the ICU on our baby's incubator, crying. And we went and held her and told her, it is not your fault. This is a gift from God. Don't blame yourself. Because she's being summoned to the board to answer questions. I think they discovered I am a lawyer or something, so they thought I'm going to sue the hospital. So I told her I would never sue the hospital because the child is not you who gave me, it is God. So I encouraged her and told her, please release yourself from the pain of this. If me, I'm the mother and I'm not blaming you, you shouldn't blame yourself. And you could see like that just delivered her from from that whole stress. It was like healing for her.
Wow. Wow. That is very awesome because I'm looking at how differently it could have unfolded if you guys first decided, let's blame the doctors. You could move on with anger, with bitterness, and inability to appreciate this child as a gift that you're saying they are. And that can progress into something terrible because you are forever bitter and you are not able to focus on this as God has assigned me this. I like that view of life, that even though there was a mistake, God was still in control. I think you began by saying you appreciated that God is sovereign. And this is where you appreciate the sovereignty of God. That really, all these mistakes happened, but it was under his watch. And he chose me and my husband to receive this child. Maybe based on that, what would you have to say to parents who are raising a child with special needs, maybe specifically CP, because it sounds like a very delicate situation or condition? What would you tell them in terms of how they would approach such a condition? So you said we never said why me, but I'm sure there are others who might be asking why me. What would you say to them in terms of appreciating that process and journeying through it?
I think the first thing is always see this child as a gift and not a burden. Yes, it presents a lot of work, and yes, you will get tired and all that, but one, you have the grace to handle it because God did not give you something you cannot handle. That's something I always say, that you have the grace to handle it. Number two, please reach out for help. Don't do this alone. Don't hide your child, because one of the things that CP children go through is that we see on TV, they are chained, they are put inside in rooms at the back. They don't sit where guests are. Nuri was always in the sitting room. If you came in, you would find her there. If we had a church meeting or fellowship in the house, she would be there with her wheelchair, listening. And most of the time, you'll hear her say something, something. And I would say like, yeah, Nuri is accepting what you're saying or is adding to it, She was part of the family. She would never be by herself in a room closed somewhere. So let her or him experience the other children. Number three, right now we have a lot of resources. And there's also money that people can access to be able to buy the drugs in the district hospitals and all that, if you register your child, yeah? So it is working in some places it's not working, but I'm sure the government is still trying. Of course, there are also NGOs and individuals who take care of such children. Maybe in your neighborhood, you know of someone who's struggling with that. There are individuals who do that. They are running centers. There's one center around Rozie that is a ladies running for children with special needs. Like if you're living around there and you don't know how to handle a child with CP, they even train you on how to do that, and you can be able to access that care and things like that. So we have some programs that can support. So don't do this by yourself. Don't hide your child. Don't be in denial, because there are some parents who are in denial. You are being told that something there's a delayed milestone with your child. Don't be in denial and say, no, my child is not delayed. I refuse. Just accept that. Go for an assessment. Let the doctors assess your child and tell you what is the special need your child is suffering from. It could be CP or anything else. And then go for that care and treatment. Yeah. And you will find that there are people out here who support that. Yeah.
Wow. Maybe, Rosemary, you can tell us about how did the arrival of Nuri affect, you said you had another child. So you have a child, an older child, and I believe, I think in our previous conversations, you've mentioned that you have another child. Those two children, what was the impact in their lives about their sister? Are you able to share that? What did they have questions? Did they, Mom, why is our sister like this? Because you mentioned that one was 2 years old. So definitely the arrival of Nuri was like, why is she different? Why doesn't she look like me? Why doesn't she talk? Why doesn't she sit? And stuff like that. And then the arrival of the third child. How did they process that?
Yeah. There is a thing that I always say that sometimes as parents we forget that the kids also are going through their processes. So it's good you've asked that question, Christine, because I remember my firstborn is called Kelly, and Kelly would look at her sister and say, why can't she stand and come and play with me? Why is she, Mom, I'm talking and she's not talking back to me. So just explaining to her, this is a child with special needs. She had a little injury at birth and all that. But if you talk to her, she hears. And with time, because sometimes she'd make a noise, when my husband would walk in and speak, Nuri would make a sound. And you'd know that she has acknowledged that is the father. So I would tell her, listen, are you seeing that the way he comes, he'll talk to her, he'll laugh with her. in spite of Nuri not speaking back, she's responding in her own way. She will probably blink her eyes, or you'll see her lift her hand a bit, and you'll be like, that is an expression. So don't be afraid. Just talk to her and engage her. And of course, Kelly then prayed for an additional child who would play with her, and that's how the third child came in as a miracle baby. And so I told her, see, God has answered your prayer. Now you have another sister. So both of them, we trained them to take care of Nuri. If we are going outside to sit in the sun, we would go together. They would not be away and she's away. And they would always talk around her and say, hey, Nuri, even you're number 2, okay? You're going to do this. And they give her things, they put her on her lap. She can't hold it, but they will be engaging her and they will laugh with her and talk to her. I don't know if this somewhere I can talk about Nuri's passing on, because Nuri did pass on at about almost 11 years old. And we had to also journey with our daughters on losing a sister, because as we lost a daughter, and we journeyed in that process. But we sometimes forget that they also lost a sister. So sometimes you'd find them seated, she's probably talking to Nuri's picture. So I would ask her, what are you saying? I found you talking. I said, I was just asking her how heaven is, you know, and all that. And so learning to also journey with our daughters that they lost a sister. Because one of them, like especially my youngest daughter, she was affected in class. She was not doing very well at some point, right after that. Yeah. And I didn't realize that it was, you know, that it was connected because she was mostly staring in school. She's just, you know, gets lost in thought. And the teacher would tell me, something is going on, and you're not getting that it is. It's a grief, and she needs to journey in that. So journeying in your grief also for the children is another different process. So talking to them about it. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about your sister? Of course, they'll ask questions, why did she have to die and all that, and just journeying with them, answering some of those questions the best way we know how, and letting them know that she's rested now from all this pain and all the things that she went through. She's rested and she's in a better place. And journeying with them in that was also a process. Yeah.
You know, you've said your third one was a miracle baby. And I'm just thinking the way women would be thinking. After this experience, probably I don't think I want to have another child. You know, but God plans differently. Take us through that process. Did it terrify you to think of having another child?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yes, Eva. I wasn't that's why my third child is called Diane, because Diane means divine. She surpassed all the things that put in place for not getting another child and arrived. Yeah. So, of course, I did not think I was pregnant. I imagined all those things I was feeling was because I had traveled. I imagined all that was because of traveling. And every time we'd go to hospitals and they say, are you on any family planning? Yes, I am. So they don't check for pregnancy. I'm given medicine and I go through it. And the condition comes back again. So after a couple of weeks, I think almost 10 to 12 weeks, that is when my husband said, I think, my dear, let us do a pregnancy test.
12 weeks.
Yes, 12 weeks. She was already a grown baby. Yeah. And of course, when we did the test, I almost fell because I was in shock. Because we had agreed that, after raising Nuri, we are not having another child. So we had closed the chapter there. And God, in His divine wisdom, gave us Diane. So, and we are glad that He did, because now all three now became a good unit of living together. So, that's how it was. Yeah, and I accepted, and I told God, okay, you have helped me overcome my fear of having another child. Maybe there would be another complication or things like that, and God didn't do that. And I mean, He gave us this beautiful baby, and we thanked Him for that additional. Yeah.
Let me ask.
Oh my word.
How has that whole process of raising Nuri, how did it implicate on you as a person, as a mother? Did it leave you the same? If it changed you, how?
Wow, that's an interesting question. It definitely changed me. My first child was very easy. The pregnancy was a joy, a blast. The birthing process was even easier. It was so smooth. So being pregnant with a second child was, of course, a blessing, and I was excited about it. And so when the complication happened, I had conversations myself with God because I felt like he owed me some explanation at the beginning. You know, how you feel like you're very important.
Sense of entitlement.
Yeah, sense of entitlement. Like, God, you said you would, you know, tell us in advance. When you're bringing something, you'd prepare me and tell me in advance, so I would be ready for it. How come this? Yeah, I'm your servant. I'm your servant. You should have spoken and told me. Because I've been faithful. I mean, you should have spoken, like I read in your book. You tell him, you should have told me in advance so that I am ready to handle this, you know. So how do you just throw me like that in the deep end, you know? And we had those conversations, and they were important because with that, now the understanding of God's sovereignty really sank inside of me. So I was able to process that by myself, my husband by himself, and then the two of us, because there were journeys. Each of us processed things differently. Those were important to go through that. So I got to a deeper understanding of who God is, understanding that there's nothing he brings along my way that I cannot handle. Right. Number two, I'm not entitled to know.
He's under no obligation,
to tell me what he has and he hasn't. He does not need to submit himself to me. Yeah, so I needed to be humbled to understand that. No. I don't need. So understanding that, hey, you are God and you are sovereign. I'm not raising my hands in defeat. I'm actually raising my hands in awe. Because I'm like, God, yani in your divine wisdom, you saw it fit to actually give us this package. And you knew that we would handle it. So having that understanding of God was very important. And I grew in my faith about things and issues, even believing God for healing for her in the journeys, and I would celebrate every milestone. If Nuri overcame an illness and we got out of hospital, I would celebrate. It would not be a place of pain. It would actually be a place of celebration. I learned how to celebrate every milestone and thank God for life. That crazy doctor had told us that this child will not live beyond 5 years. God confounded the wisdom of the wise and gave her 11 years. So we celebrated that. 11 years? I'm like, God, thank you. She had been given a short span of life. For me, 11 years was almost like 100 years. So I just thanked God for that. Yeah. And so learning how to celebrate milestones and God's processes and seeing God in every stage and every stage. I mean, even at the burial of Nuri during the service, people are looking at us and wondering. Jimton and I were laughing, joyous, celebrating the life of Nuri and the joy that she gave us as our family. And they are wondering, we should have been devastated, but we were not. We were just celebrating. Yeah. Seeing what God has done. Every step of the way, confounding what people say and the doctors and what. Just miracle. Go in for surgery, come out, she's whole. Yeah, I mean, like every stage.
Rosemary, as you're talking, I'm thinking of this scripture that says, the revealed things belong to us and the unrevealed things belong to God. So there are things that he will reveal to us, but there are other things that they do not necessarily make sense. And on this side of our mortal lives, there are things that really will never make sense because we are limited. And of course, he doesn't leave it there. He tells us to seek him. And those that seek him will diligently will find him. Actually, the same scripture that says the unrevealed things belong to us. I think it's the same scripture that also talks about it is the responsibility, I'm just paraphrasing, of the king to search it out.
Yes.
You are required by God to search out. And searching out may not necessarily give you the answer that you want. Maybe your searching was not the healing of Nuri, but your searching was that it produced a better Rosemary. It produced a better Jimton. It produced a people who are stronger and can encourage others and can build others, because I think I've known you for some time, and all that time that you are going through that, it was never like written on your forehead, like what you're going through, and feeling angry and bitter and you had the joy of the Lord. And I think for me, that's a searching out and a response from God.
Yes.
Yeah, because God does not have to answer our prayers the way we want him to. So for me, having you strong and able to encourage others, God did respond to the searching out, just in his own way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because indeed it's not about the process.
Yes.
It is about who we become as we journey through the process.
Yeah.
So that we have an interaction with God that causes us to be forged in his will. So that finally we meet a different Rozie from the Rozie who started the journey, or we meet a different Jimton. Now, let me come back to the question of support. Because basically that sounds like really a daunting task. And you said some people will even have family run away from them. By the way, before even we address that support, viewers, kindly, you've listened to Rosie's story. Men, please don't run away when there is a special child to take care of. And the women should not run as well, because she's really confirmed to us that God supplies grace and resources. And it's something you can support each other and journey through. But meanwhile, beyond the support of the spouse, what other services or support services are available? And maybe you can share that with our viewers. Somebody raising a special child like that. Are there organizations that help in supporting, whether it is emotional, whether it's simply educating the parent on how to journey? What support system is available for them?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have the Cerebral Palsy Society of Kenya. It's an organization that is geared towards helping the society understand better about CP, and also supporting parents and caregivers on how to take care of the children with special needs of that nature. I know they're challenged in terms of finances because it is quite a finance, it requires a lot of money to take care of all the needs that may be present out there. So they have programs that they run, which I was talking about. They also go out into communities and send people who, occupational therapists. I think we also have Kenya Institute of Special Education. It's located in Kasarani. And I know that if you are around that area and you go there and you make inquiries on how you can be supported, they all work together. I know these ones are focused on education, but they also have therapists, and they also have centers that take care of such children. As I mentioned, there are also individuals who are running homes that I'll find the details and share with you, Eva and Christine, that maybe later we can share with our viewers of some of these homes. That there's one I know that is in Ruai that takes care of CP cases specifically. That is her gift to her calling, and she's doing that very well. And so we have those places that people can get help from. I know that Kenyatta Hospital has the occupational therapists who provide care at very affordable rates. I think the time when I was doing it was 100 shillings per session, which at least someone can be struggled to find. So they usually have also that, and they also work together with the Society of Kenya to see how to provide care at home if your child is too big. Some kids live beyond 15, some get to until 20s or 30s, so, and they will require care. So they also provide caregivers to go to them at home. So I believe those are areas that people can be able to support. And I'm sure there are also churches that have programs that do special needs support. So I'm sure there'll be maybe different places within our communities that people are doing that.
Well, topping up on the same question, you've talked about the help that they receive to take care of that child. I'm thinking of the parent. I'm thinking of the parent. You know God, and you talked about how God strengthened you, how God provided the grace to be able to take care of Nuri. I'm thinking of a parent there who is out there and they're alone, because you've talked about support systems that help you do the physio.
Look after the child.
Yes, look after the child.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what happens to that parent? And I'm sure maybe there's a parent, watching us today, and they are thinking about, you've told me the places where I can go to get support for my child, but I'm here. I'm struggling. I'm in pain. I'm wondering what to do about my situation. And I think it would be important for us also to talk about the parent. Do they get any counseling? Are there places where they can get help? How does such a parent be able to overcome that?
Yeah, and as she answers that, maybe you can address the issue of self-care as well as a parent. Yes, self-care. Yes.
So one of the things we did ourselves, because during that time when we had Nuri, which she was born in 2008. So during around that time, there wasn't much going around. I think even WhatsApp groups were not a thing then. So
Was there a WhatsApp?
I don't even think there was WhatsApp. We didn't have. So what we did is when you go to those centers, you would find that there are groupings. So there would be as a group of parents that have meetings that take care of. So we would not know about this unless you came to the therapy session. Right. So for us, we got a group of parents that were already meeting, and we joined and started meeting together. So definitely those days there were no WhatsApp, but I'm sure right now there are WhatsApp groups. We could find the links for them and also share. But that time there was nothing like that. So within that therapy you would find parents. So the parents would have sessions where you'd come together and meet. I mentioned the doctor that was taking care of my child. He was also very good at asking us those questions. In fact, he is the first person that asked us, "How are you?" Most people would come to visit us and ask, "How is Nuri? How is Kelly? How is the How is the hospital bill? How's that?" But never, "How are you?" So he's the first doctor who asked us, "How are you?" We looked so tired and haggard. And I think Nuri was about 3 months at that time. And he talked to us, and he talked to us, and he said, "Look, a caregiver must be cared for. Please don't forget yourself. You need to sleep. Allow other people to care for your child." Because at that time I'd said, "Wait, I will not let this child be raised by anybody else. It will only be me." How? There is no way I can raise this child by myself. I need help. So he told us, "Please stop doing this by yourself." He's the one who told us, "Please, if you can't get 2 house girls." He, the doctor, said, "You can't do this because I'm the one who's doing this. Jimton will wash, I'll feed, I need to go to work. We have not slept. I have another child. You will crash." And at that point, we were crashing. We were tired. I could not even remember the last time I'd slept for 3 or a whole night. You know, it was mostly 3 hours, 2 hours. You're up, you hear her cry, you run there, you're worried, you know. So it was the first person, he's the first one who asked, "How are you?" And when we said we are tired, we told him the truth. Please be truthful. If you're tired, you're tired. Don't profess and confess. "I am strong in the Lord." Yes, you're strong in the Lord, and it is important. But sometimes you're tired physically. You asked about self-care. And I said Nuri was born 2008. 2009, my husband and I, up to today, decided we must have a holiday every year, the 2 of us without children. We have to go and recharge. So we do that every year without fail except COVID. We went away every year. Him and I, just the 2 of us, go and rest away from the children. Allow that girl to care for that child. Maybe have a friend to stay at home also with them. And we would do that. So you need to do that. You need to recharge. You need to have a friend come over, watch the kids, and you sleep. Surely, even as women, when we give birth, we are encouraged to have someone help us. Already, even just having a normal, child and with no condition is tiring. So imagine with a special needs. Surely take time to recharge. Take that. So we started that tradition from 2009. I've done it till today. We have to go away. Sometimes we take our children also, so that they also recharge, because they're also caregivers too. To my the house girls, I would let them take some time away because it's also tiring for them.
So the parents, you would recommend that such parents get into groups so that you're not suffering alone, so that you're not feeling like I am the only one going through this situation. Get into groups that, like a support group, that you're able to discuss the progress of your children, the challenges that you're going through, because it helps you know, oh, I'm not alone. Somebody else somewhere is actually going through this. And I think there's a scripture also that talks about that your brothers all over the world are going through similar situations. So I like that aspect of get around other people and also take care of yourself. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, then you cannot offer that care. You cannot be able to take care of that other person. Yeah, so wow, very interesting journey.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I was thinking also about the society around such families, because we've spoken to the parents. They will seek help from organizations available. How are we as a society supposed to behave? Maybe what would you say? Because you said you went for a long time without anybody asking, how are you doing? What is it? What would you advise the society in general? What would you advise us to do in terms of supporting such families?
The first thing is, and maybe on top of that, you can also talk about, is it taken as a, is it, what is the word, stigmatized?
Yes.
Is it taken as a, yes, because you mentioned about some people even hide their children, because bringing them out here, people may ask questions or wonder what's wrong with your child. Nobody wants anything to do with that. So I think the society really needs, we need to learn more.
Enlightenment.
Yes, yes.
I think that idea of enlightenment is important because we have also parents who feel that having such a child is a curse. And they are told by the society. Actually, we heard that long time they used to kill such children, that you would not, if they found a child that had that, they would kill them so that they don't continue living because they are maimed in a certain way, you know. And so some cultures have carried on that mindset concerning children with special needs, children with CP, and they have, you know, the children and the parents face stigma, which is why some of them hide those children. So society, number one, needs to learn more about CP.
Yeah.
I'm sure even you learned a lot when you read a little about this. Yeah, and so society needs to learn more. As society, we should also support such parents more. If you have a friend who has a child, please call them sometimes and says, show me how to feed your child so you can take a break. Even go and do your hair, because some of the time they don't even have time for anything. So if we can, I remember in my church, I trained young ladies, about 2 of them. I told them, you have to come and learn how to feed Nuri. You have to come and learn how to massage her if she's seated for so long or things like that. So that one time, if I don't have a caregiver at home, like a house girl maybe has gone away, you can come and assist me and not have fear. Because even handling Nuri, you would see, like a house girl would be afraid, like I'll hurt her. This thing, I've never seen a child being fed by a tube. This, I don't know how to do this. And you just say, no. It's very simple. Come, I show you. So even training ourselves, learning more about the situation, being a support system to people who are going through that. If you have a neighbor who is, reach out to them. Just go and have a conversation and say, how can I help you? Would you need me to watch your child sometimes? Show me what to do. Or I can come watch and you go. Take a break. Because it is, you need that. You need that for self-care as well. Yeah.
Wow. And also to embrace them as a gift, so that stigma of educating ourselves as a society, especially when you explain it so well. This happened during birth. People don't have to attach some spiritual explanation behind it. It's a curse, it's something like that. Once they understand how these occurs, so that they can tell this is another complication like any other.
Right.
And we can be very supportive. Thank you so much, Rozie. Maybe I'm not sure whether there's something before she speaks to our audience.
I think you've handled it very well.
Okay.
We are very enlightened also.
Yes.
Just to get to know more about this, and it's wonderful the way the Lord helped you to go through this. And I love the fact that you're attributing the grace and the strength to go through this to the Lord, as opposed to I'm cool, I'm
Yeah,
strong, I am, you know.
yeah,
Yes, and I have money. I have the money to take. You're attributing that to the fact that the Lord supplied the grace that was required to go through this. And it's a good thing also beyond the help and the support groups that we have talked about. I think it's also good to let our viewers know that beyond all that,
There is
it
God.
is God.
Yes.
And it is God that we continuously must look up to, not the fact that you have, because you could have money to treat that child. You could
Yeah.
have relatives supporting you and friends. But ultimately, I think we always say that doctors can only treat, but it is God who heals.
Yeah.
So putting our hope and our faith and trust in God, that's the bottom line.
Yes.
Beyond the many other things that you can do for your child or for your person, our eyes must be fixed on God. And encouraging you that even if you do not know the Lord, it's a good opportunity to be able to tell the Lord that I want to know you personally in a way that I can be able to talk to you about my situations, because it's a present help to those who are in need.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. All right, Rosie, then thank you so much. I would like you to just face that camera and speak to our viewers. Maybe the word of encouragement you'd want to deliver to a parent out there who's feeling fatigued, wondering how long can I carry on? Maybe any word of encouragement you may want to offer them.
Sure, thanks. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Eva. Just like to encourage you, if you're there, you have a child with CP, you're not alone. And this is not a burden. It's not a punishment of any kind. That child is a gift from God. And you must always acknowledge that. And that's the starting point of your journey of healing. Healing is not about that child not having that condition. Healing is about even you acknowledging the sovereignty of God and knowing that He is in your situation. And I want you to know that you cannot do this by your own strength. You must trust in God. You must let Him give you the grace to handle the situation. Without God, it is impossible to journey in this life when you have a child with special needs. I can tell you that for sure. You can't. Handling it by your own strength, it's not possible. But the grace of God is ever so sufficient to give you that strength of every day. You are not alone. You can reach out to someone. You can talk to someone, and you will find the strength to move on because God is with you. Have no fear. You will be okay. And that child is a beautiful gift from God. I pray that you will kiss them, you will love on them with all your heart. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. What a beautiful place to
Yeah.
end. Our viewers, I want to believe you're really encouraged. Even if you're not raising a child with special needs, I think you've learned something about dependence on God and really how to embrace your process and acknowledge that if God is taking me through this, He'll give me the grace. And I would like to say at this point, if you're out there and wondering, who is this God they're talking about? I do not know Him. I want to invite you to know this Lord as your own God and Savior. So if you'd like to know more or like to speak to us about how you can begin your journey in God, please feel free to send us a message. You can comment below and we are going to make sure we contact you if you give us your details, and we'll be able to lead you to Christ. If you can't contact us, please go to someone near you who knows the Lord and share with them that you'd like to know Him. So we'll continue sharing stories like this that bring life to you. Thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe so that we can continue to bring you more content in the future. Thank you so much.
And from all of us, it's
Bye.
goodbye and the Lord bless you.